Be forewarned, the fairy tale I'm about to tell you is one of the many where a sleeping princess gets assaulted by a man who is our hero in the story and gets rewarded in the end. It's from the Czech Republic and it is called The Forester's Son. There is a forester and he's a horrible man. He gets drunk and ill-uses his wife and children. One day the wife says, "My children, since your father is always beating us, let's get our stuff together and leave him." Good. They travel for a couple days and then they're in the forest and they decide to sleep under a tree for the night. But the oldest son stays up and says, "I'm gonna explore." He sees the light of a fire a distance off. When he gets closer, he finds out that there are 24 robbers all sitting around the fire. I don't know how he knows they're robbers, but he does. And he just messes with them for a little bit. Like one of them lifts his mug to drink and our dude takes his gun and shoots the mug out of his hand. And the guy turns to the person next to him and he's like, "Why'd you knock the mug out of my hand?" He's like, "I didn't do it." He does this 3 times and then finally they're like, "I think someone might be out there shooting at us." And they go out and they find him and drag him out. They're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I am a robber like you guys." And they're immediately like, oh, well then stay with us, eat, drink, smoke, let's have fun. They party. And then the robbers are like, "Hey, so there's this castle nearby and there's a princess in it and we all want her, but we can't get in there to take her. Maybe you can help us." Our guy's like, "Absolutely." And they're like, "Okay, we're gonna make this hole in the wall since you're apparently more slender than the rest of us. You can go through the hole. Then you can like find some keys and like let us all in and we'll all take the princess." Our dude says, "Sure." And so he goes through the hole and starts creeping up into the castle where everything's quiet and everyone seems asleep. He creeps to a room where he spies through the keyhole that there is a sleeping princess inside. And when he goes in, he finds that she was quite naked, but covered with a cloth of gold. There's also a table at the foot of the bed with a pair of gold slippers and 2 gold rings that have her name inscribed on the inside. Now, what does our hero do now that he knows he has found this girl and there are 24 other dudes outside who want to come in and do her harm? Does he wake her? Does he warn her? Does he find her parents and tell them? No, he does not. He says, "Oh, great God, what if I were to lie down beside her? Do, my God, as thou wilt." So there's scissors in the room and he cuts the gold cloth covering her in half, which somehow makes it so she can't wake up. It's the equivalent of drugging her somehow. Then he lays with her, takes one of her rings and one of her slippers and leaves. He passes her mom and dad's room and like specifically says to himself, "I better be careful not to wake her parents." And then he goes back to the hole. He says, "Hey, robbers, you need to come in through the hole one at a time and then we'll all go get the princess." And somehow now they're all able to go through the hole. And as each one comes through, he takes a sword and cuts off his head. And by doing so, cuts off the head of all 24 of the robbers. And then he just goes back to his mom and siblings sleeping in the woods. The mom's like, "Oh, where were you?" He's like, "I was just here sleeping with you," and totally does not tell anyone about everything he just did. So he and his family just continue on. They get to this new town. They all get jobs at an inn and the mom is a cook and they stay there for a year. But then the mom is like really tired of being a cook. She says she's old and the labor is hard for her. And she says, "Even though your father ill-used us, let's go home." And they're all like, "All right, let's go back home." So on their way home, they stop back by where this whole thing happened. You might be thinking, how do you know he really laid with her a year ago? He could have just slept. Well, I'll tell you how I know. She now has a child that she does not remember conceiving. After this princess gave birth to her child, she told her parents, "I want you to build me a tavern. I want to work there secretly because I feel like whoever is the father of my child will come through and I'll be able to figure out who he is eventually." So our dude happens to stop by this tavern on their way back to the abusive dad. And the whole thing with the tavern is you don't have to pay, you just have to tell stories to get food and drink and smoke. So they come in, sit down. Our princess, the hostess, sits down with them and she's like, "Tell me your story." And the mom's like, "Well, we left home because my husband was awful and now we're heading back. We actually stayed the night in a forest near here." And the princess is like, "I know, I actually live in a castle right near here." And immediately our protagonist knows who she is and he's like, oh boy. And the princess absolutely knows too. She's like, "Tell me what you did while you were in the forest." And he's like, "Well, I stayed up, I found these robbers." And the mom keeps saying, "This isn't true, princess. I don't know what he's talking about." And he's like, "Mom, it really did happen. You were asleep." And she's like, "Oh?" So the son's like, "I killed these robbers. I went into the castle." And the princess says, "What did you do there?" And he goes, "I have done nothing." And she says, You must have done something. And then he says, well then, I have lain with you. I took away your ring and your slipper. Look, here they are. Then the hostess knew it was all true and said, then you will be my man. And straight away they embraced and kissed one another. And then she fetched the boy and says, look, this is your child, and we're now man and wife. She brings him to her parents and she's like, I found the father of my child. He's my husband now. And then there's a feast and they live at the castle and everyone's happily ever after. I mean, I guess it's good they don't end up going back to the abusive dad. But no, that doesn't make up for her happy ending being marrying the man who assaulted her while she was asleep. That's horrible. It's horrible. But this is far from the only fairy tale where that is the ending a protagonist who takes advantage of a sleeping woman gets. Because in the patriarchy, women are objects and their thoughts and feelings don't matter, and they're basically property that belongs to the man who first takes them, and she needed to marry the person who gave her the child, and it doesn't matter that she wouldn't actually want to marry the person who assaulted her horribly, because we don't actually think about what she would want. We just think she has to belong to him now. Someone should do a retelling where she poisons his tavern beer. I'd like that one better.